Welcome to The Moral Crossroads. I'm Arnett, and today we're diving into thought-provoking discussions on morals, choices, and how they shape our lives. Plus, we'll explore some exciting deep dives on books, services, and products you won't want to miss.
All right, strap in everybody because this deep dive is going to be a wild ride through history. We're tackling echoes from the past, AI conversations with deceased civil rights leaders, and Black icons by Rodney Harris Sr.
And let me tell you, this ain't your typical dusty history book. It's not just dates and names. This one is like, imagine having a direct line to some of the most brilliant minds in history.
Right, like actually getting to ask them, what would Harriet Tubman say about, I don't know, the state of education today? Or Marcus Garvey about Black economic empowerment.
It's mind-blowing, right? And that's exactly the kind of conversation this book sparks.
Okay, so walk us through it. How does it work? Does it try to recreate how these figures actually spoke?
So it's not about mimicking their voices perfectly. It's impossible, right? We're talking about recreating the way they thought. The AIs fed a massive amount of data, speeches, writings, biographical info.
So it's learning how they thought based on everything they ever said or did.
Exactly. And get this, from that, it can hold these hypothetical conversations, And the insights are eerie.
Eerie good or eerie? This is too real, kind of eerie.
Oh, both. It's like you can almost hear them speaking through the AI. It's wild. Take Harriet Tubman, for example. The book, it imagines her saying, the chains of oppression may have changed, but they have not disappeared.
And she's not just talking about literal chains, right?
Absolutely not. She's talking about the systemic stuff we're still dealing with. The prison system, healthcare disparities, the wealth gap. It's all connected.
It's like she's looking at the bigger picture, the stuff most textbooks kind of gloss over.
And it gets even deeper. The book explores whether Tubman, knowing America's history, would have still stopped the Underground Railroad in the U.S. or kept going to Canada.
Whoa, now that's a question I bet keeps some historians up at night. So what's the verdict? Stay or go?
Well, according to the AI, Tubman wouldn't have stopped at the U.S. border. She was all about true freedom, not just a change in scenery.
That's powerful. Makes you think about what true liberation really means, right?
Exactly. And this book really gets you thinking about legacy. Like take O.W. Gurley, for example.
Gurley! Wait, refresh my memory.
He's the mastermind behind Black Wall Street, the Greenwood District in Tulsa.
Oh, right. Tragic what happened there, the Tulsa Race Massacre.
It's exactly. A stark reminder of the fragility of progress. But imagine the conversations we could have with Gurley today. The man who built a thriving Black community against all odds.
It's like, what would he say about protecting Black communities today, especially with all the systemic issues we're still facing?
That's a question the book dives into head first. It paints this picture of Gurley as someone who really understood, the power of economic self-sufficiency, but also the ever-present threat of, racism.
So it's about balance, building up Black communities while also being aware of the dangers.
Exactly. And that kind of vigilance, that awareness of navigating a hostile world, it comes up again with Ida B. Wells.
Ida B. Wells, talk about a woman ahead of her time. She was exposing injustice way back when it was downright dangerous.
Right, and think about it. She was battling misinformation back then, too, just without the whole internet thing.
Oh, man, that's true. She'd have a lot to say about fake news today, wouldn't she?
The book imagines her connecting her fight against lynching to this broader battle for truth. Like a lie can travel the world before the truth can even get its boots on.
Man, she said that way before Twitter. It's scary how relevant her words still are.
That's the thing about this book. It highlights how these historical figures weren't just fighting for their time, but for ours too. Like they're passing the baton.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's keep going. Who else is featured in this chorus of echoes from the past? It's amazing to me how this book can take these huge figures like Ida B. Wells and make their struggles feel so relevant to what we're going through right now.
It's like the fight never really ended, just took on new forms.
Exactly. So who else do we get to hear from in this conversation across time?
Well, buckle up because we're diving into the worlds of art, literature, and activism. Get ready for some James Baldwin.
Oh man, James Baldwin. The things that man could do with words. It's like he could dissect your soul with a sentence.
Right. And the book doesn't hold back. It throws them right into the thick of it, Identity politics, cancel culture, all those hot button topics we're wrestling with today.
I bet he had some scorching takes on those. What was his overall message, though?
Beneath that sharp wit, there was always this deep well of compassion, this understanding of how messy it is to be human. I think he'd be pushing us to listen more, judge less.
Yeah, and we could use a little more of that these days. Speaking of powerful voices, what about Zora Neale Hurston? She was a force of nature.
She really was. The book paints her as this fierce advocate for Black storytelling, for owning our narratives.
It's like, what would she say about the way we consume and share stories today? Especially with social media and everything being so instant.
It's a great question, right?
Yeah.
And I think she'd be all about using these new tools to amplify our voices, to make sure the stories of our communities are heard.
It's about controlling the narrative, right? Not letting others define us.
Exactly. And that takes us to a voice that practically echoes through history. Martin Luther King Jr.
Dr. King, his dream speech, it's like the ultimate message of hope and progress.
Right. But it's also a challenge, you know? The book portrays him as acknowledging how far we've come, but also how much work is left to be done.
It's like he's saying, don't get complacent. The fight's not over.
Exactly. He's all about embracing that nonviolent resistance, but also understanding that justice takes constant effort. We can't let up.
So it's not just about dreaming of a better future. It's about doing the work to build it.
100%. And speaking of putting in the work, the book also delves into the mind of Malcolm X.
Now, there was a man who wasn't afraid to speak truth to power, even if it ruffled some feathers.
No doubt. He was fiery, passionate, and the book doesn't shy away from that. But it also highlights how his thinking evolved, you know, becoming more nuanced.
So it's not about painting him in just black and white.
Nope. The book portrays him as someone who understood that liberation takes self-love, but also dialogue, even with people you disagree with.
That's a powerful message, especially these days when it feels like everyone's retreating to their own corners.
For real. And
Right.
that's what makes this book so important. It shows us these different facets of these iconic figures, you know, helps us understand the complexities of their legacies.
It's about getting the full picture, not just the sound bites.
Exactly. And to wrap up this incredible course of voices, we've got one more stop. Tupac Shakur.
Tupac. Now that's a name that still carries weight. What kind of insights does the book offer into his perspective?
It shows him as this complex mix of contradictions, you know?
Yeah.
Revolutionary, but flawed. Poetic, but raw.
He was a product of his environment, but he also rose above it, tried to use his platform for change.
Exactly. And the book portrays him as someone deeply concerned about the same issues we're facing now. Police brutality, poverty, the need for education.
So it's like, even though he was taken from us too soon, his message still resonates.
It definitely does. And that's the beauty of echoes from the past, you know?
Yeah.
It reminds us that these voices from the past, they still have so much to teach us about the present and the future.
It's like they're walking beside us, urging us to keep fighting for that better tomorrow, whether it's through activism, art, or just having those tough conversations that make us uncomfortable.
Exactly. It's about honoring their legacy by continuing the work they dedicated their lives to.
Well said. This deep dive has been an incredible journey. It's made me want to revisit these figures' work, to really sit with their words and let them sink in.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that history isn't just something in the past, you know? It's alive, it's breathing, and it's up to us to carry those echoes forward.
If you're excited about the book, product, or service we discussed today, don't hesitate to click the link in the show notes and purchase it. We believe your purchase can genuinely enhance your life. Plus, every time you buy, you're helping us keep these valuable deep dives coming to you each week. So, choose growth. Remember, the crossroads of morals and choices always await you. Stay curious and keep exploring.